Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Tuesday, February 28th, 2022 by Gaia Blooming. Oh, first time I didn't catch myself. 2023. I guess I did catch myself. I am Mimi, and our energy mantra for today is I lean into Source to support me in my process. And there is so much value in knowing when we need to lean into Source. A lot of times when I am in fear or I'm struggling with life, I will meditate and imagine like a gigantic hand holding me. The hand of God, the hand of the universe just holding me. It's a gender neutral hand. Maybe there could even be a paw if you would feel better in a paw. But that feeling of being held is always very helpful to me. So keep that in mind in these astro energies. In fact, I was inspired by the top of the cards we have today, the Source card with the Trust card in reverse right behind it. Our lesson of Saturn and Pisces is going to be so much the faith process, the faith in the universe through you, the faith in the universe outside of you, working both of those levels, trusting in the universe inside others as well. It doesn't mean that the human doesn't necessarily get in the way, and yet can you see that light? Can you see the universe? Can you see where there is God in them? Because I think it will be those perspectives that help get us through these next several years, right? So today we have the moon moving into Cancer later in the day. Most of the day is worked on by the moon in Gemini, but I think we're really feeling both Jupiter and Venus approaching Chiron. We're going to have Venus and Jupiter conjunct on Wednesday, working together. Aries energy can get very aggro, and so you may find your inner fires spiking up over the next few days. Jupiter is so wonderful that it loves to expand whatever you present to Jupiter. So that can be the goodness of Venus, the pleasure, the beauty, the love, the passion with the Aries energy. Or it can also be the frustrations, the aggro, especially when it comes to others. And if you find that you're pointing a lot of fingers, remember that these lessons, the Aries lessons, are about the self. And what is it showing you a lesson for within yourself? How do you bring it back to you? That's how to best utilize this energy, especially because the Chiron is being approached, and so there's wounding there. So just keeping that in mind will help you through. We also have Lilith still checking in, connecting with both Saturn and Pluto at 29 degrees right now. So those are really big energies that we're working with, and Lilith has that soul agenda. And so checking in with Source, leaning into Source can help you align with that higher soul agenda rather than the human trauma, the human wounding that can also easily be coming up with these intense astro energies. Moon in Gemini, making many connections, like I said. We start the day with a square to Neptune. And this is where sometimes there's challenges, those square energies. Neptune and Pisces can align with the soul agenda. Watch for the illusions. Watch for the deceptions. They're so rampant right now, whether it's somebody pretending to be somebody online or whatever. Even the deceptions that you bring yourself, So be very aware of that in this energy. Moon in Gemini is staying alert and tuning into everything. Don't forget to check in with your soul, that soul energy again. The moon is then going to... What?
Ask it how it's doing.
Joe said, ask it how it's doing.
Got to do with the New York accent.
444. Moon in Gemini also is connecting to Mercury and to Saturn through the day. To Saturn right before it hightails it out of the sign of Gemini and moves into Cancer. It's actually also in conjunct with Pluto. So that afternoon energy may get a little feisty. That might be where you need to lean into source. And yet there is responsibility. Saturn in Aquarius. What are your vibes like? And checking in. What kind of vibes is your mental creating? That is something I always have to be super aware of. My mind, it does all of the things. So check in with that. And Pluto at that 29 is like, you can empower. And Saturn is like, you've got this. So keep that in mind as we move through the end of the day. So like I said, top of the cards, the source card, leaning into source, being supported by source, God, universe, whatever that is for you. I'm hearing the song, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be around. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. So, working on your trust. Oh, Khufu. Hearing Khufu right now. So I remember a very profound class with Khufu where he was like, do you trust yourself? And all of us were like, no. And he's like, well, do you trust the universe? And we were like, yes. This was way before, the last several years. This was even before 2012. This was in, early 2000s that I started working with Khufu. He's like, if you do not trust yourself, you do not trust source. And we're like, oh, and that's really true. And that goes back to how I started this scope. Learning to trust the universe in and through you. And I know that there's a process, and sometimes we have to trip. Sometimes we have to fall. Sometimes we have to be deceived to learn. It's part of the learning process. Can you say thank you? Can you practice gratitude for those moments? Eventually, once you get the frustrations out, that's part of the trust. And that might be even part of this trust fall energy in all of this. I'm also getting, and I feel like this has to do with the Aries energy. Aries energy is also bringing up so much ego. And there's a lot of inner child stuff coming up. I'm feeling a lot of inner child stuff that we're wanting to avoid right now, that we're doing anything we can to avoid it. Your best bet is leaning into source and trusting your process with this inner child. Show up for your inner child. Do the hard thing. Show up there. And what will that lead to? Success. Eye of the tiger. You have to have the strength. You have to have the courage of the tiger to show up in and for the inner child energy. So lean into your source in and for that.
From pain will come pleasure.
From pain will come pleasure, according to Joe. So I'm going to leave that here for today.
It's not like the pain will equal the pleasure.
The pleasure will be better.
A little bit painful for a short period of time, and then you're done. So facing your stuff.
The resistance makes it take longer.
Yeah.
So we know from experience.
Just get it over with. Like a Band-Aid, right off.
All right. That is it for today. You can book a reading with me. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. Besides that, the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and honor your values. Namaste.